Dumelang. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela show on this Wednesday, the 29th day of October. 2 days actually to go before we wrap up this month. I hope you're well this morning. It's wonderful to be in your company. We were meant to be in Westbury today. We had an outside broadcast planned. Everything was done. We were going to be in Westbury following the recent shooting of these 7 young men, which left 2 of them deceased, one of them 13 years old. And police had told us last week that they believe that this has something to do with gangs. Gangs and drugs, issues that have affected the Westbury community for the longest time. And I wanted us to look at the possible solutions. I wanted to bring in the top cops to come and tell us about the specialized teams that they've put up in Westbury. What have they been able to achieve over the last couple of years, right? What are the police doing? What's the community doing? That's what we're supposed to do today. And then we saw that there was a 60% or so chance of rain today. So we had to make a call late last night to postpone our outside broadcast. So I apologize for that. But normally when we do outside broadcasts and it's raining, it affects the quality of the line. So we don't want to be having technical glitches because of the weather. So we've decided to postpone it. So we're going to do it next week. I'm sorry. I know there are so many people who wanted to come and join us for this conversation. In fact, I received a message now as I started the show from, what's the name? Okay, Anonymous. Okay, this person says, Clement, I want to remain anonymous. I'm raising boys in Westbury. They are not part of any gang, but they could become targets. And I'm concerned about that. So, and this person goes on to tell us about what their experience is living in Westbury and what he is concerned about regarding his young boys. So it's a very important conversation to have. I think sometimes it's easy for us to do the headlines and be outraged about young boys being killed, young boys being part of gangs and engaging in drugs. But I think we can take it a step further. And that's not to say that when we do an outside broadcast in Westbury, somehow then miraculously gang violence ends. But at least we're having a conversation. At least we're hearing people. We're giving them a platform and an opportunity to speak to us and express how they feel about the situation that is so concerning. So we'll do our outside broadcast in Westbury next week. We'll give you all the details about the specific day. Right now, though, we start with the 702 open line. You can give us a call on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Have you picked up how certain politicians ask certain witnesses questions at the parliamentary inquiry? Or how politicians have been behaving during this inquiry? Because I've been making a few observations and I wonder if you have observed something similar. I mean, all of them. I've been watching because the thing about the parliamentary inquiry, one thing I appreciate about it is that, one, it's better than Madlanga Commission in terms of, and we've had a conversation about this, one, accountability. There are better chances of there being accountability through the parliamentary inquiry than through the Madlanga Commission because, in fact, somebody else could go to court and force Parliament to take decisions that are rational. Whereas with the Madlanga Commission, they could easily just say, hey, Mr. President, we think you should do 1, 2, 3. And the President can decide not to do that. Even though that report is going to go to the Chief Justice, is going to go to Parliament as well, which is great. And I think it enhances the chances of accountability. But the parliamentary inquiry, I mean, Parliament is a body that's constitutionally obligated to hold the executive accountable, and if they're not doing that and they're veering off that constitutional mandate and obligation, you and I can hold Parliament accountable for that, or other parties even in Parliament. So that's number one. But number two, I think it's better than the Madlanga Commission because actually you've got members of Parliament that are asking some robust questions. Because I find that at the Madlanga Commission so far, we're only listening to people, they're being helped, like evidence leaders are helping lead their evidence, which is fine. But we need more than that. We need things to be probed. And yes, commissions are more, what's that word? Inquisitorial? What's that word they normally use? So it's not like you're in a court of law. I get that. But still, man, just like there are certain instances where even the commissioner of the Madlanga Commission, like the Justice Madlanga, has asked some key questions. Remember when he asked the National Police Commissioner about taking an unlawful instruction from the police minister? Remember, like those are the kind of questions you also need, because this also just helps us understand the systems, but there must be an element of accountability, even in how the Madlanga Commission conducts its work. Like, let's ask key questions. And I find that in Parliament, even though politicians there may have their own ulterior motives, they are asking the key questions. That's why I have been grateful to the members of Parliament there. Now, having said that, you can already pick up some behaviors. Like, the DA, I've already picked up, and I wonder what you make of this. You may disagree with me, but I've picked up, like, the DA has sort of taken a posture here. You can tell that in the questions they're asking, they're not fully in support of General Mkhwanazi. In fact, they're not happy with him because General Mkhwanazi has gone after the DA through Diane Kohler Barnard. So there are questions that even Glenys Breitenberg, for instance, would ask Senzo Mkhunu or Shadrack Sibiya. I remember she would say, so why now? Why that press briefing on the 6th of July then? Why? Why now? You can just tell in the questions that, there's the posture they're taking. And it's not just the DA, right? Any political party in Parliament, they've had a caucus meeting. That's why they've got caucuses and they've got chief whips, because their chief whips must tell them, this is the line we are following. So even with the EFF, have you picked up Julius Malema? What have you picked up about Julius Malema? He wasn't there yesterday, was he? With Castle Matale. Was he there yesterday? He wasn't there yesterday. So what have you picked up about? Because it's almost like he's selectively participating in the ad hoc committee. He wasn't there when Shadrack Sibiya was cross-examined. Why? And then we find out at the Madlanga Commission that he may be close to Shadrack Sibiya. It's almost like he's recusing himself without recusing himself. Yesterday, I'm told he wasn't there. Castle Matale is his father figure. So it's almost like he's recused himself so that he's not caught in an awkward moment where his father figure is testifying there and he must ask questions. He did once say that Castle Matale is his father figure, right, Abel? If I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he on, was it Annele's show? And that's when he was asked about who's in your close circles. Do you remember that?
Outside that space, I've got a friend or a father figure called Castle Matale, who is a deputy minister of police. We were together in the ANC, grew up under him. And when I went to his house to tell him, I'm now forming the EFF, he said to me, I've seen how you've been treated. I will not say no, I will not say yes. It's your call to make, but that doesn't affect our relationship. So if you need anyone to call me and tell me where to get off, that's Castle Matan.
Well, Castle was there in Parliament yesterday. Where were you, Mr. Malema? Huh? On the other hand, someone else could argue, well, it's good for Julius to recuse himself because this is someone who's very close to him. But it's this selective participation that sometimes doesn't make sense. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe Julius was engaged in something yesterday. Maybe even when Shadrack Sibiya was being cross-examined, Julius somehow got busy. Who knows? But I'm not too convinced by that. And then you've got, like, Abum Tumiseni Ntuli, the ANC chief whip of the ANC, Kusela Digo. What observation have you made with how they ask their comrades questions? Becky Kele, Senzo Mkhunu. What have you observed about how they've been asking them questions? I mean, there are some ANC MPs, I must say, who have been very tough. Like Ola Ngola. Ola Ngola is an ANC member. He's the chair in Parliament of the Justice Committee, if I'm not mistaken. And I love how consistent he's been, like asking really some tough questions. But I must say, he was more tougher with Shadrack Sibiya than he's been with Senzo Mkhunu and Becky Kele. There's a guy from the MK, Kimang, that guy, is it Shongwe? There's a chap from the MK party who has also been quite good with asking the questions. And then there's the PAs, is it Ashley? Ashley Souls, that guy's from the Patriotic Alliance, right? And then you can tell how he asks questions about the political Killing Stars team. You can tell who supports the disbandment and who doesn't. And from his questions, you can tell that not a big fan of the political Killing Stars team. Now you have to contextualize it. He's from the Patriotic Alliance. Who is the deputy president of the Patriotic Alliance? Kenny Kunene. Kenny Kunene? Who is Kenny Kunene? Kenny Kunene is an MMC, but also a businessman from Johannesburg. Who is Kenny Kunene friends with? Serge Kabonge. Who is Kenny Kunene also friends with? Malcolm X, or associated with. Who are these two people associated with? Then you go to Serge Kabonge, you go to Ket Matala. Huh? Because that's what he said. They've got an association, right? Who's Serge Kabonge besties with and friends with? Shadrach Sibiya. Who pushed for the disbandment of the political Killing Stars team? Shadrach Sibiya. So you always have to follow the money, follow like the web, connect the dots is what I mean to say. I would like to know from you, what have you picked up about the behavior of members of parliament? Because whether you like it or not, as impressive as they can be and how they ask the questions, they are still playing politics. Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Between 10 and 11 o'clock, we're going to be live at the Madlanga Commission. Once again, guys, we take you there live because I really think that there are important details that you need to know. I mean, the high-level stuff we have gotten. We've been told of criminal syndicates and interference, politicians that could be involved. But there are certain details that are coming out of the Madlanga Commission that are being revealed by the men and women in blue on the ground. People who have risked their lives to investigate this criminal syndicate. And there are key details that I really want us to keep a close eye on. So last week we took you live to the Madlanga Commission. We heard about the arrest of KT Molefe last year and how there was interference from powerful forces. Well, today, there are other police officers that are going to testify, and they're going to tell us about what happened when they arrested KT Molefe this year. Remember when they found Kenny Kunene at the house? We're probably going to hear their side of the story because they've never really told us, the police, what happened when they found Kenny Kunene there. So, will Kenny Kunene's story check out? We're going to find out today. So I want to take you live to the Madlanga Commission just after 10 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we're going to do our Listener's Choice feature. And given what we've heard from the Parliamentary Committee yesterday, from one of the Deputy Ministers of Police, Clement Manyathela, we're going to revisit a conversation we've had several times before about Deputy Ministers. What do they actually do when they don't have delegated powers yet? I mean, for a whole year, you've just earned 2.2 million rand doing what? You and I, my friends, are paying that 2.2 million rand for deputy ministers to do what exactly? That's why Action SA has actually proposed a private member's bill in Parliament to enact a constitutional amendment to do away with the position of deputy ministers, as they are clearly unnecessary. But the president disagrees because he's been asked this question before in Parliament. So that's what we're looking at 11 o'clock. And then we wrap up the show at 11:30 with the sharing space. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Clement, it's to me here. My observation is that they are not consistent in terms of getting there. Sometimes some are coming late, some are leaving early. Depending on the weaknesses, some are not coming. I think they are not really showing the respect to the public. Good morning.
Tabang from Cape Town. When it comes to the parliamentarian, when they ask questions to the people, what you're saying, I noticed it yesterday because the big question was, do we really need deputy ministers? Because the big question was, do we need them? And the resounding answer was, it looked like everyone was agreeing to say we don't need them. And then Dumiseni Ntuli came, and then the way he was asking the question was more like to say we need the deputy ministers because everyone was almost in agreement to say we don't need them because of how Katiso Molefe was saying he hasn't been given his duties yet because, for a whole year. So it was more like he wasn't doing anything. So I picked it up yesterday when it came to do we need deputy ministers?
Morning, Clement and the listeners. We are watching this politician, even the way they ask their questions. We are really watching them. Julius was not there during Sibiya's time because we do understand he's the friend of Sibi. Yesterday also he was not there during his friend again. Is it Mantale or who, that guy? He was not there. We are really watching them. And we are also watching the way they ask the questions. We are really watching them, eh? We are. Mam Zota from Katlo.
Mam Zota, keep watching them like a hawk. Koketso, you're calling from Johannesburg. What have you observed? Good morning.
Yeah, morning, Clement. I think, we shouldn't forget that when Kwanazi held that press conference, was it on the 6th of July? Because it feels like a lifetime ago. But when he held that press conference, he talked about how MPs are also implicated in this wave, right? So I think, every single time we see various sectors of either the judiciary or parliament or the executive acting weirdly, we should actually ask ourselves those questions to say, are these some of the people that are not perhaps maybe implicated in this intricate web of criminality? So we need to, as Mam Zota was saying in her voice note, we need to watch these people very closely in terms of the type of questions they ask and how they interrogate and follow up on certain points, because that either shows you that they've been given marching orders by their party to not interrogate certain things in depth, or or to either maybe interrogate something because they're political point scoring. So I think this is very interesting, Clement. And for me, Bheki Cele's testimony was by far the most interesting one, because he then came and put for us the fact that the succession battle in the ANC is also playing itself out in this, right?
Yeah.
So in which way? The fact that someone needs to replace President Ramaphosa in the ANC, the fact that the elective conference is coming out, all of these moving pieces need to be understood together to say that this is why things are moving in the way in which they're moving, in terms of all of the various government departments and also the parliamentarians. So it's really, really fascinating. For me, Bheki Cele's testimony was actually the best, because he was very unfiltered and he spoke, covering various sectors where we didn't even think, in our minds that can the elective conference actually have bearing on this. Yeah. But we understood it to say, no, actually these people are now starting to fund their campaigns and they're using these benefactors and these tenderpreneurs of the ANC to do that. So that's another.
And they've always done it for the longest time. Okay, so right, this is not the first time. For the longest time, that's how the ANC. We've had conversations even about how the ANC has funded itself over the years. For the longest time, you get comrades who get their friends or their family members. They inflate prices, and then the next thing, boom, that's why Fikile Mbalula, even the ANC has said, the issue of money in the elective conference is an issue. That's because the things get inflated and then they fund them. But here's the thing, Koketso, before you go, we need to be careful not to make Bheki Cele a hero. I've tried to say this last week because, one listener even sent a voice note and say we need to give Bheki Cele his flowers. I was shocked. The fact that Bheki Cele came and exposed or revealed, spoke about things he wasn't even asked about for, doesn't make him a hero, right? He went and slept at someone's house that he knew. Babita Deokaran is dead, Koketso. Can we have sympathy for that? At the very least, can you at least distance yourself from people that Babita Deokaran has flagged? The SIU have confirmed what Babita Deokaran has found. And as a politician, you are comfortable to go live in a luxury apartment of someone who is involved because you're saying, well, it's for free. I will take it because I'm sebenzi. That's ridiculous.
No, I agree 100% with you, Clement. And I found it interesting that he said the president also had a picture with this guy, right? A photo with this guy, which shows you how indeed this thing goes all the way to the top. And I think as the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc commission the ad hoc committee keep on going, we're going to get deeper, as you say, to connect the dots between these various characters and how they're playing towards the ANC elective conference. So it will be very interesting times, I tell you.
It will be interesting. And by the way, when Bekele spoke about the picture that the president has with Ket Matlala, we haven't seen that picture, but the suspicion out there, even on social media, was that Bekele is confusing the picture where I am with the president, I, Clement. So there's a picture where I'm with the president on stage, right? Like the president we were gossiping about something. He was whispering something to me and I was shaking. I was holding his hand, right? And he was saying something to me in the ear. And someone took a video of that and then put it up on TikTok. So people, apparently me facing the president looks like I look like Ket Matlala. So many people, guys, this trended on TikTok and on Twitter. So many people think that is Ket Matlala with the president. But it is not, which is why Mbazima Chilowa actually tweeted 2 days ago and said, "Hey, Clement, Ket Matlala Manyathela." It was a joke. But I think Bekele is misplaced. He thinks that picture that has been trending of me and the president is actually Ket Matlala and the president, because apparently I look like Ket Matlala from my back. Apparently. Yeah. Can I look like somebody else, please? Not Ket. Please. Can I look like somebody else? I don't want to look like that guy.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. We continue with your calls on 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line is 072 702 1702. I've been asking you what your observations have been around the behavior of members of parliament and also the kind of questions that they ask. Because, I love details like that. Like, I love watching how people answer questions, how they respond to questions, what their demeanor, their posture is like, what questions are they asking the most, because that really tells me the bigger picture. And I've made my own observations about whether it's Julius Malema. I'm convinced that he has been recusing himself, but he just doesn't want to say it. If you believe differently, let me know. I mean, it's questionable to me that Shadrach Sibiya has been placed at the center of the allegations made by Mkhwanazi, one of the people, that are at the center. And on the day when you have to cross-examine him, suddenly you're not there in parliament, Julius? And then we hear from the Madlanga Commission that Julius may be close to Shadrach. And then yesterday, on the day that Castle Matale is giving his testimony and being cross-examined, he's not there. And then he goes and tweets. Someone sent me a tweet of Julius, a tweet that he put up yesterday. Let me try find it for you. He tweeted that to Mushubi Matale, we know, highly principled and articulate. And I played you a clip when Julius was on Anele's show on 947, where he says Castle Matale is like a father figure to me. So clearly, at least to me, it appears like he's recusing himself because he doesn't want to be caught in an awkward situation. But it's not just that you observe, right? You look at how Mdumiseni Ntuli or Kusela Diko, how they ask certain questions, or in fact, someone else on Twitter says, Buti on Twitter says, Clement, what I picked up is that Mdumiseni Ntuli and Kusela, they somewhat do the re-examination-like kind of approach, similar to court proceedings when dealing with their party members, but they do it so subtly that most of us are unable to pick it up. They all have taken sides. And that's what we must always remember here. These are politicians at the end of the day. I still give them credit for asking important questions, because I think we get more robust accountability kind of questions coming from this parliamentary inquiry than you are from the Madlanga Commission. And maybe phase 2 of the Madlanga Commission will take a different posture. But so far, they're leading evidence. But in parliament, when the members of parliament are asking questions, they have been good. Like the ANC guy, Mr. Ngola, Ola Ngola has been great. I thought has been a bit consistent, but you can tell that his tone started normalizing. I mean, with Shadrach Sibiya, he was shouting. And then Bekitele comes and Senzo Mchunu comes, and then he still asks important questions, but in a calmer tone. Yeah? And then you hear Glenys Breitenberg and how she asks questions to Shadrach Sibiya and Senzo Mchunu that are meant to sort of question the behavior of Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi on that day when he held a press conference on the 6th of July. They don't make it obvious, but you have to pay very, very, very close attention for you to pick up what's going on here. Here are some WhatsApp voice notes that have come on 072 702 1702.
Morning, Marimeja Mwagui and Jovek. On the issue of Parliament ad hoc committee and those parliamentarians on their selective, whom they must question, who they mustn't question, of which is wrong. We can't say Julius has commitment. No, he didn't have commitment. He knew Matali is his friends, his comrades. They have their own shenanigans. So he didn't want to be exposed on that. So, like on the issue of Shadrach Sibiya, he was not there. There was no commitment. Even yesterday, there was no commitment. So we can't say there's commitment. Huh? Why didn't he have commitment when there's Masemola or Mkhwanazi? It's just a selective propaganda there. So it's just selective. Oh, today's my friend, I'm not going. So, of which is not good. Mwagui and Jobek, have a great one.
Morning, Clement, to your crew there, and morning to everyone else who's listening. You know, Clement, thank you for that thesis on the proceedings in Parliament. You're so right. I think members there are taking a rather partisan approach on matters. Depending on whom they are dealing with. Also, the Julius one is more thought-provoking because his availability there, it also depends on who's appearing. And I think the difference between the two proceedings in what's happening in at the committee and also at the Matlanga Commission, I think the latter has a more, or rather takes a more technical and judicial approach. Whereas in Parliament, everything just goes and you have different minds being applied on matters. So I think, that's the difference.
Hi, Clement. Clement. On the serious note, I think with regard to Bekitele, it seems we love charismatic leaders. If you don't have got charisma, Clement, live like a politician, David.
So you need charisma. Yeah, and maybe Bekitele was that, but is he a hero? I don't know about that. Lanzeni on Twitter says, Clement, we can't say for sure that Bekitele was referring to the same picture that trended. We're talking about a senior ANC member who was a minister of police. He can be referring to a different picture, so let's not be quick to dismiss him. Yes, and Lanzeni, don't get me wrong, right? I'm not dismissing what Kele is saying. That's why I said earlier, maybe he's referring to another picture. But what I saw is the assumption people made. Even some members of parliament, is the assumption people made was he is referring to a picture that's on social media. And even Bekitele said, I don't know if you've seen the picture that's doing the round, the picture that's out there. So the suggestion from Bekitele was that there is a picture already doing the rounds on social media where you see the president with cat. Have you seen that picture? I mean, if it's doing the rounds on social media, surely one of us, between all of you listening to me this morning and myself and everybody in the studio, at least one of us has seen that. But no, we haven't. So the assumption then is he's probably mistaken to refer to the picture that people think it's Ket Matlala, but it's not. So again, maybe he is referring to a different picture. And maybe that picture is going to emerge. We can wait and see. But so far, we haven't seen anything. And he suggested that the picture he's referencing is already out there in public. And that's not a picture that we've seen. And then someone else on Twitter, where's that? Hey, Clement, we must always remember that politicians are always going to be politicians. So when they ask these questions, they are doing it for their own political expediency. Oh, absolutely. There's no question about that. That's why I said, in Parliament, there are caucuses. Like caucuses, that's where you get told what you are going to do. That's why you have a chief whip. A chief whip's responsibility is to get you to follow the line. Part of their responsibilities. So in the caucus, before any motion of no confidence is debated, before any budget gets passed, before any important event that happens in Parliament, caucuses normally meet. Sometimes you've got the president of the ANC coming to address, or the chairperson of the ANC, or the SG, mostly the SG of the ANC, coming to address a caucus. Why? Because it's important for members of Parliament to know this is the line. This is what you are expected to do. So you think with the parliamentary inquiry, parties have not taken postures on which side they are on and what approach they are going to take in this ad hoc committee? Oh no, they have. And I'm saying if you pay very close attention to all of them asking questions, if you pay close attention even to Ashley Sauls from the Patriotic Alliance, you can pick up who is for the political killing trust team's disbandment and who is against the decision to disband. And when you pick up that maybe Ashley Sauls' position is more against the PKTT and he supports the disbandment of the PKTT, then you must ask yourself questions. Why would he do that? And how you get to that answer is connect the dots. Which party does he come from? Patriotic Alliance. Who's the deputy president of the Patriotic Alliance? Kenny Kunene. Who's associated with Kenny Kunene? His friend, Serge Kabonge and Malcolm X. Both of whom, by the way, are friends with top cops. Malcolm X told me on this show he's close friends with Godfrey Libya, head of the Hawks, who's now retired. Serge Kabonge came on this show and told me he's friends with Shadrach Sibiya, the suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner. Who is Serge Kabonge connected to? Serge Kabonge is connected to Ket Matlala. In fact, on the night that Ket Matlala's ex-girlfriend was nearly murdered, she had just met with Serge Kabonge. The allegation she makes to the police is that Serge Kabonge is the one who gave Ket Matlala information about her whereabouts. Then Matlala sent the people to go try to take her out. Why did they try to take her out? Because apparently she knows that she made an allegation to the police that Ket Matlala is the one who's involved in the Babita Deokaran's murder. So it's important to always try and connect these dots, because any posture position people are taking, I bet you, if you watch closely and you connect the dots, you understand why they take a position that they're taking.
Madimage, I wouldn't have agreed with you more. I couldn't agree with you more with regards to the issue of celebrating Bekele as a hero. I was telling someone close to me who felt like, no, he did well. And I said, yeah, the fact that one thing I think that what he did well, he went there and told himself that he's not going to deny anything that he couldn't hide. Had he slept at Kat's place and nobody knew about it, I don't think he was going to tell us. But because he knew that if he was to try and say, I didn't go, he wouldn't have been able to stand, the test. So, yeah, he's not a hero. I mean, this is the guy when he was still a commissioner. There was a tender in Pretoria. Actually, that's why I think he was removed as a commissioner before he became a minister. So Bekele, not a hero at all. If anything, is the opposite.
Good morning, Clement. I think Julius Malema is right not to attend when it's his friend who's being questioned, because he doesn't want to play with people's minds. It's easy for him. If people forces him to attend, he will attend. But before he attend, he will speak to his friend. They'll discuss which questions are appropriate for me to ask you. Then together they come up with the right question that they want to ask each other. Then he will attend and only ask him that. What are people going to do? By not attending, at least he's respecting us.
Good morning, Clement. I wonder if you did see Ashley Sauls when he was questioning the National Commissioner, Fanny Masemola. He went on and on and on, accusing the National Commissioner of claiming that Kunene was there twice when he was only there once. I mean, he took a long time. Sitting on that point and say, please admit and say that you only know that he went there once and the rest of the times is just allegations. He didn't have any question. He just wanted to protect his party. These party members. Now, Penny from Forward.
Thank you, Ma'am Penny. Sia on Twitter also says, Clement, you omitted Action SA's MP, Darlene, who has been asking tough questions, and she was particularly tough on Senzo Mkhuni when she asked if they can check his phone. Won't they find chats, conversations, calls with members of drug cartels? Yeah, Sia, I'm asking you to tell me what you've observed. I've told you just what my limited observations have been, so I want you to tell me what you've observed. And someone also sent a voice note saying Julius Malema was right to recuse himself. I see Bazima Shilowa has tweeted me also, who agrees with that voice note and says, Clement, Juju is right to absent himself, unlike Diane Kohler Barnard. Not sure what Glenys Breitenberg hoped to achieve with the issue of the Limpopo province under administration. So I don't think particularly that it is wrong for Julius Malema to recuse himself if that's what he's done. But I would have loved for a bit of transparency. What's wrong with Julius saying to the chair of the portfolio committee, Soviet Lekhanyani, Chair, I will not be available when Shadrach Sibia is being cross-examined because I have a relationship with him, if that's the case. Or, Chair, I will not be available when Kasel Matali comes here and testifies and we have to ask him questions because he is like my father and I think I'm going to be in a compromised position. Why do you not say that? Because it's almost like, oh, I just got busy on the day. No, man, come on. And I think that level of transparency is important because this doesn't mean Julius Malema has done anything wrong. He hasn't, right? So what's wrong with saying, I don't think I want to be the one that sits there with Shadrach Sibia or with Kasel Matali because I'm caught in an awkward position. Kabelo, you're calling us from Pretoria. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Clement. I think you stole my shine there. You are
what did I do?
Look, ordinarily, when you are conflicted, you recuse yourself from the proceeding. So how do you do it? You formalize it. And like you just rightfully said,
absolutely.
You speak to the chairperson to say, Chairperson, look, I am conflicted and we know the relationship that he has with Castle, understandably so. And to say, Chairperson, look, I have a relationship with this person, I think I will be compromised. And such, let me recuse myself from the proceedings. I think that's all that he needed to do. But not come up with stories that I'm not available, I think he shouldn't have done that. But to come forward and be transparent. So that's what I think he should have done.
I agree with you, Kabelo. Absolutely. Thank you for your call. And I'm sorry for stealing your shine. I didn't know that's the point you're going to want to make. But I absolutely agree with you. Formalize it. Very easy. You've got nothing to hide. You've got nothing to hide. In fact, I think this is a noble thing to do. It's a noble thing to do, to be able to say, I'm close to this person who's going to be testifying, and I don't want to be in a position where it's awkward now. Let me recuse myself. Formalize it, though, because when you just suddenly are absent, it's just weird. And then you go tweet about how credible and truthful or whatever the person is. It's just weird.
Dumela Clement, thanks for opening my eyes about the line of questioning there from the parliamentarians. And then with regards to Malema, he was absent during Shadrach Sibia questioning. I thought maybe he's got some commitments, but now with Kasel Matali, that's when I became suspicious. I think in 2011, there was allegations of corruption between Kasel Matali and Julius Malema there in Limpopo. But I stand to be corrected. Is Katiso from Midlands.
Hi, Clement. You see, on the issue of whether or not Julius was recusing himself and whether or not that your recusal was correct. The problem is that at a later stage, the group or the members will come together to discuss the report. So if Julius is not transparent that I am not coming because I've got a relationship with X, Y, and Z, is he going to sit in those meetings which are discussing everything and everyone when they're compiling a report? Or is he going to recuse himself silently again? Because this thing doesn't end with the interviews. At some point, they're going to have a meeting and they'll deliberate over what happened in the interviews. My name is Sillo. I'm in Centurion.
Sillo, that's precisely the point. There are going to be deliberations. So what happens? Are we just going to see Julius recusing himself from those deliberations or what? Transparency is very important. It's very, very important. And in this case, as noble as his act is or may be seen to be, formalize it. Tell the committee or tell South Africans. Write to the chair and say, Chair, I know this chap. I had dinner with him 2 weeks ago. Therefore, and we are friends. I've been to his house. He's been to my house. Therefore, I feel like I need to recuse myself because I don't think I'll be too objective when I ask them questions. And then at least we know, right? But now every time there's a witness that you may be close to or you are related to, then what? You're not coming to work, but you're not saying why. But when there are other witnesses who come, Bosenzo Mkunu or the others who sit there, you are asking them robust questions. I mean, when we celebrating Julius? When was it? Last week? Remember last week I was telling you about how impressed I was about some of the members of parliament, the MK guy, Shongwe, the ANC guy, Kola, Julius Malema, Action SA's MP. Like, I was telling you of how those are some of the MPs that I thought were asking some really critical questions in parliament. And you guys mentioned others too. So when there are other people who come to parliament to testify, you ask robust questions. And when others come, you don't come to parliament. It's a selective participation, but you haven't told anybody because the chairperson hasn't said anything unless they've decided to keep it secret. But nobody just knows why you're not in parliament. We have to assume that, maybe it's because we were told he may be close to Shadrach Sibia. Oh, maybe it's because Castle Matale is his father figure. Be transparent.
Good morning, Clement. I have to agree with you on this one. Transparency over honesty anytime. Transparency over honesty anytime. It wouldn't matter when he comes back and try to explain to us that he was being honest. He wanted to stay away from conflicting issues and all. But had he been transparent from the get-go, then there wouldn't be any confusion as to why he had to recuse himself.
Good day, Clem. Yes, I understand the issue with regards to the Matale one, Castle Matale one, that he could have recused himself. But yet, on the other hand, as far as the crime intelligence guy, Sibia, if he recused himself, they say, on what grounds? By association, which down the line may be like an admission of guilt.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.